Inspirational underdog sports stories aren't anything new, and some are phenomenal, like Remember the Titans, Rudy, Cool Runnings, and Coach Carter. What we don't typically, if ever, see are these uplifting stories that focus on Indigenous Americans. Now, Resball is a new entry that's hitting Netflix, and this has an inspiring bent to it, but it also showcases some of the struggles the people face while living on the reservations. In the heart of Chuska, New Mexico, the Chuska Warriors, a high school basketball team with a rich Native American heritage, faces its greatest challenge yet. After losing their star player, the rest of the team must come together more than ever to realize their dream of winning a state championship. So the film is directed by Sidney Freeland, who has helmed a bunch of TV series episodes from shows like Reservation Dogs, Fear the Walking Dead, P-Valley, Echo, and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. She's also a Native American, so she not only has a personal insight into the people being portrayed in Resball, but also a good working knowledge of culture and customs. Now, a lot of this movie is what you're going to see in many other sports-themed movies. The underdogs struggle to succeed in an inspirational battle for the championship. But how the film starts out is a pointed reality check of a problem that plagues a lot of Native American reservations. Addiction and self-harm are the topics that are used as both MacGuffins and social commentary, highlighting an actual issue and then showcasing how some work to overcome them. We're tossed into the tragedy pretty early into the story, which doesn't allow us to feel much of a connection with one of the affected characters. Now, thankfully, the story arcs are more focused on the aftermath and then the growth rather than the tragedy itself, which allows us to then grow connections with the players that we're going to watch through their basketball season. Now, the action we're shown, it is energetic and very engaging. The way this is shot allows us to feel the pressure of the basketball games while also putting us right out onto the court with the players. And through either very athletic actors or clever camera work, the play feels real. I mean, these kids are flowing across the court and maneuvering the balls in ways that just make it appear that they were almost born with the ball in their hands. Now, I do think there are times when too much basketball is shown, making it a little difficult for non-sports fans to stay engaged. This thing contributes to the film feeling just a tad longer than it needs to. Now, it's just under 2 hours, and while the games are exciting, the pacing, it's uneven as it switches back and forth between the dramatic elements and the gameplay. Now, this isn't a deal breaker from watching or even enjoying the story, but I did find my attention waning at different parts when the on-court action became the predominant and long focus. Now, I do appreciate, though, that we get to watch a lot of character growth within the players, especially as they navigate life complications. These moments help to build and then solidify connections with these characters. In his acting debut, Kachani Bratt plays the lead role of Jimmy. Now, he's the star athlete on the team. And as a first-time actor, I give him more of a pass, but it was fairly obvious that he was one of the less experienced actors in the cast. I mean, while he didn't always come across as convincing in his line delivery, the earnestness and the passion, it did come through loud and clear. And there was this huge vulnerability that he brought to the character, creating a sympathetic and endearing young man, despite the hubris that the character also displayed. And by the end, Bratt had really grown on me, even more so because of the huge character growth that we get to witness throughout the narrative. Now, while the underdog story isn't unique in sports movies, if the tale can capture heart and soul and provide a great reason to root for victory, the lack of novelty, it's not so much of a factor. In this film, we get small areas that show us the motivations of the players and then the issues that they're affected by. I mean, take Jimmy. His mom was a high school basketball star, but now she deeply struggles in life with addictions. And that drastically then affects Jimmy and his schooling. I mean, this plot, it smacks of realism. Not because I'm any expert on Native American culture, but because these are also issues that we watch play out in many different communities, where children have to grow up way earlier than they should and then take on the responsibilities of their parents who have left the tasks to fall by the wayside. Something else in this is that we also get to see how some of the players don't even know how to speak their Navajo language. The recent Irish movie Kneecap, it also focused on this same problem, a disappearing language and then how it homogenizes a culture, allowing it to be absorbed and then forgotten thanks to the larger and more dominant norm. Now, I love how the topic of the Navajo language works within the story. It's not some preachy moment, but instead, it's highlighted just to showcase the change that begins. Now, these are also used in some very humorous exchanges also. It creates levity to balance out some of the melancholy that's inherent just thanks to the situations. And there is actually quite a bit of humor that's sprinkled throughout. I mean, not all of it's laugh-out-loud funny, but a lot of it is going to elicit some chuckles and certainly put a smile on your face. Now, because this is based on a true story, the content is heartbreaking with an underlying sadness throughout almost the entirety of the movie. I think, though, the insight into this culture, it's excellent. And then it's necessary so that it just doesn't fade into the ether. Now, this film, as well as productions like Reservation Dogs, Dark Winds, and Echo, they work to bring exposure not only to struggles that the indigenous populations face, but also the contributions that they make and the value they hold within our society. Now, something that I think may also contribute to the uneven pacing that I'd mentioned before is a lot of the scenes, they lack cohesive transitions. What I mean by this is that a lot of this feels like a bunch of vignettes and then scenes that are then placed together, abruptly connected, so it appears we're just constantly jumping over small segments of time and then landing at the next event. I mean, it's not a constant issue, but it is present enough that many parts felt disconnected from their previous scene. So at the end of this, I walked away entertained and inspired. While the acting is a little stiff at times, the pacing is uneven, and the scenes don't always flow smoothly together, the heart that's showcased and the energy that's captured, it's uplifting and often humorous. Excellent camera work places audiences within gameplay, and despite being heavily basketball focused, non-sports fans will find this true story uplifting and engaging, with underdogs that you really want to root for. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and some violence. I give Resball 3.5 out of 5 couches. So do you have a favorite inspirational movie that's just right at the top of your list? Let me know what you love in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.